All right, now we're going to show you one of the most world-known movements out there is incline plane, but aka the push-up. The top of a push-up, which is called incline plane, is again what most people, they get into it in the wrong position just to start it. So I'm going to show you, here it is. This is the top of a push-up. This is called incline plane. But there's so many misalignments that can happen from it. It's incredible. So what we're going to do is we're going to take you through the common misalignments, and so that you do get the most benefit when you're doing push-ups. If it's a bench press, if you're doing an overhead press, there's certain things about the push-up that set the rest of your body up really well, and like even how to use your legs to help with it. How come core strength is so incredibly high when you're doing a proper push-up? How does a push-up, does it even positively affect pull-ups and stuff? Yes. So there's a really cool amount of exercises that are positively affected if you do your incline plane position properly.
Is this why it's your favorite exercise or your favorite pose?
My favorite exercise, yeah.
We're going to show you the common misalignments next.
Now we're going to take you through some of the most common misalignments in incline plane.
All right, so I'm going to have Johnny get into the push-up position. The first place we're starting is the hands. And what tends to happen here is a lifting of the index knuckle and the fatty part of the thumb. So this is the first misalignment. The second misalignment starts to travel into the elbows, whether they're bent, hyperextended, or they're rotated forward. In incline plane, we don't want them to be rotated forward. We want them to be facing one another. The next misalignment comes up into the head, where the head is dropped, and then the next one is the shoulders are lifted, right? Or they're closer to the ears. So you have index, elbows, the neck, and the shoulders. This is all the stuff that we're gonna teach you how to fix in incline plane. After that, you're gonna have a sagging here, or you're gonna have a lift here and a round here. It's gonna be one of those two things, okay? And then the legs being under engaged. Knees might be slightly bent. They're just like weak. They're just kind of laying there. And then the last one is there's an unevenness in the feet. So now we're gonna show you, go through all of those misalignments and show you with partner feedback how to correct those misalignments. All right, so now let's go ahead and fix those misalignments. So this is all partner feedback, how we're gonna fix these. Again, we're starting with the hands, what's in contact with the ground. So sometimes you have fingers that are all close together and scrunched up. You'll have a lift in the index underneath the fingers in the knuckles and in the index part of the thumb and the fatty part of the thumb. You want extension and expansion. So the first thing is get those fingertips spread as wide as you possibly can on both sides. The second thing you're going to want to do is if you see a lift in the index knuckle and the fatty part of the thumb, and even if you don't, I like to go ahead and put my fingers underneath that index knuckle so that they have a reference point of pushing down. So now we have a nice evenness of, because most of the weight is on the outside of the hand, we'll have a nice evenness of pressure here, 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 and here. So I intend to go back to these two spots a lot, index knuckle and fatty part of the thumb. The next thing we have is to make sure that the hits of the elbows are facing one another so that they're not rotated forward towards me, they're not too bent, and they're not in hyperextension. So that's the second thing. The next thing is to make sure that there is resistance in the back of the neck. And I'm going to show you a greater way of doing this, but right now you're just kind of correcting this. Another way you can do it is touch head to head and they extend. Another way you can do this, or if you want to just drop the shoulders down, is that nice little cue of taking the thumb underneath the ear and the shoulders. That's great, okay? So I'm gonna stop there and we're gonna come back down onto the knees. Now I'm gonna show you the actions of doing it. So you corrected the misalignments. You've got the fingers, you got the elbows right, got the shoulders down, the back of the neck is lifted. Now we're gonna engage and even work with the muscles in how Johnny was saying, this actually helps with the pull-up. We're gonna show you how next. So he gets back into the position. You got your mantra, index knuckles down, fatty part of the thumb down, pits of the elbows face one another, resist the back of the neck, shoulders down and wide. Boom, we're good. Now what we can do is start to give some feedback that's gonna be a lot of fun. This is a shin forward action, which you would use on the legs, but you're gonna do it on the forearms. I'm just slightly pushing in and he's pushing back. He's already started to engage. And then I'm gonna work my way up to right underneath the armpits, and I'm gonna pull, and he's gonna pull back. Now this is really gonna open up his shoulders. And I can even give him here, lengthen through the crown of your head. Keep pulling those arms back. So I lightly release, go back here, index knuckle, fatty part of the thumb, shins forward, thighs back, basically lengthening through the crown of the head. Super intense.
Yeah, that's intense. Now, all she did was the arms and upper body part. So I had to take a break.
Yeah.
Why? Because this is intense. There's a lot to it. She hasn't even addressed midline of the body, the waist, the hips, the legs. Now she's going to address those different points.
Yep. All right, so now we're going to show you how to correct the misalignments in the spine. But first, I'm going to have Johnny actually get into incline plane with his heels against the wall. And the reason why we're putting the heels against the wall is because a lot of times people do incline plane just with no reference to where their heels actually are. So this gives a reference point of one leg maybe being a little bit less engaged than the other. So now he's got both of his heels pressed into the wall. Now, there are two things that can happen in the spine. One is the drop of the head and the lower back. That's one. And the second one is a rounding of the thoracic spine. So we don't want either one of these. We want to try to work out of them as much as we can. So if a person has that collapse in the neck or in the lower back, I'm going to place the palm of my hand on the areas of collapse. So right here, it's on the back of the neck. And then right here, it's on the spine. So I'm going to get him into a position where he can lift, and then I'm going to go ahead and give the pressure to the back of the neck and that lower back. I can give him the mantra that I gave in the arms, right? So he's got that index knuckle down, shoulders down and wide, and he's resisting. So that's number one, how to get rid of this dropping of the head and the lower back collapsing. Now the second one's a little bit more tricky, but he's gonna get back into it. If they have a rounding of the back, you can use a stick. This is a nice, easy tool to use to just give them a reference point of where their head needs to be. So that's one way of doing it. You can also just place your hand on the crown of their head. If they have enough body awareness, this will actually work as well too. Perfect.
Now, when you're doing these, stick, you can use a stick works great. They're trying to lightly touch the back of their head, their shoulders, and their tailbone to the stick. They're also trying to extend. That one is very simple and it's a good feedback mechanism. Everybody in your class or your students should be able to understand that pretty quickly. The hands-on feedback one, it's a very light touch. You're trying to get them to come up and lift into your hands. Now, as with everything, people will get competitive almost with it and try and lift through your hands. So remember, they're trying to match your resistance. They're trying to come up into it to lift the neck and the lower back just up. So you can put your hand there lightly and say, lift up into my hands. And once they hit a spot that they're good at, just say maintain that, because you don't want them pushing through and then they create another misalignment. So your pressure might be anything from 1 pound to a max of just a few pounds. Some people though, they don't get it. So maybe you got to push a little bit more and say, keep working, work into my hand, work in my hand, just to get them to come out of that collapse. And for some people, it takes a lot more load, but this is where you have to be very mindful of not overloading them and challenging them accordingly to their experience level as well.
And what you'll feel is the vibration. Usually you'll feel a vibration on the bottom of your hands that tells you they're in a really good spot. If there is no vibration and you don't feel any work into you, you may need to push just a little bit harder or go in another way to make sure that they get that perfect alignment. So now we're going to show you how to activate the legs. And this is the last part of incline plane. So Johnny places his heels against the wall. He gets into the incline plane position. Now for partner feedback, you're going to do a couple of different things. I like to place my butt against the wall because I'm going to give him shin forward feedback and thigh back feedback. So which do you like first? Do you like the thighs back?
Yeah.
Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to turn the thighs on, which will help people turn the tailbone down. And this is really good for people who have lower back issues. like that. So I'm gonna place my fists right on the back of his hamstrings, and I'm gonna push down, and he pushes back. And if I need a little bit more on one side than the other, I'll just wiggle it just a little bit. Good. Then the next position, I lightly come off, is I'm gonna give a shin forward action, and all I'm doing is cupping the front of his shins, and he works down. So now I have this whole mantra: index knuckles down, shoulders down and wide, lengthening through the crown of the head, resist the back of the neck, resist the lower back, resist the back of the thighs, shins forward. This turns them on completely in inclined plane.
That's an amazing feedback tool. But again, it's the end user. What do they like? She asked me. I don't like it as much on my shins as I like it on my hamstrings. It just turns me on as far as turns on proper posture immediately. And you might have saw that as soon as she pushed, I just got, and I immediately heated up. And we talked about that before. On the shins, it's a little more challenging. So ask your partner, what do you like more, this or this? I like this. Okay, I'm gonna give you more feedback here. Because that's what you're trying to get, and everybody's different. You're trying to get them to open up their posture. And so you gotta feed them the way that does that.
Yep, absolutely. Now we'll show you the self-feedback.
Now Jesse's gonna show you self-corrections on how to fix some common misalignments in inclined plane.
We already gave you one with the heels against the wall. This is a perfect place to start, is put the feet against the wall so you actually know where your heels are. I'm gonna use a yoga block in between my thighs, and the purpose for that is to help to engage the inner thigh so that I can create more length in my spine. So I'm just gonna use it right in between the thighs, right above the knees. And then the second part I'm gonna do is put a sandbag right on the back of my neck. I have a tendency to have the head drop, and so I'm just gonna go ahead and put that right on the back of my neck, and then we'll get into the position. This is about 5 pounds, it's not super heavy. Get my hands into the position, fingertips spread wide, and then get my heels against the wall. Go ahead and squeeze the block. I've got a shin forward, thigh back action, lifting the spine, the back of the neck. I've got my forearms working forward, upper arms working back.
And you can already see how she's shaking. I don't know if you can see her hair shaking. It's good, but she's extending, pulling her shoulders wide. She's lifting into the sandbag here. She's working adduction by working her legs together. She's working extension by working her heels into the wall. So she's trying to get long from her heels through her head, working the shoulders wide. She's hitting all the possible points. I can see, I might want her to lift just a hair here.
Could feel
with
that.
the tailbone down.
Yeah.
Okay, and these are very light touches when you give them, but you want to always look at everything. Are they extending fully? Can they expand? She hit all these points really, really great.
And then when you get out of that, you should immediately feel like you just lost 10 pounds.
That's nice.
I mean, you stand up and you feel like, oh man, I feel good. So that, you're in the right position when you get up from a pose and you feel like you feel great. And I had no words for it.
And you're heated up too. That was one of the things we were stressing before. You could tell you were heated up too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's a good point.
Now we're gonna show you some bonus tips on the arms. Okay, now we're gonna show you some bonus material on helping people with elbows that are perpetually bent or elbows that are hyperextended. So you're gonna get two different kinds of people, and here's how you can give feedback for those. What Johnny and I like to do a lot is think of the arms very much like the legs. So this would be shins, and this would be a shin forward action if I pushed into it. This would be a thigh back action. But there's also a shin in, thigh out action, okay? So when you want to get rid of a position where the elbows are bent like this, then we're gonna be working a shin in action, right? And the shin in is gonna be me taking my hands, and I like to make fists, placing them on the inner portion of the elbows and working out. This forces Johnny to work in, which is forcing the arms to go to straight. And so what I also like to do is, if I'm down here, I just take the opportunity to make sure the index knuckles are down, shins are forward, thighs back basically, and then work again out, and they work in. And now the arms are getting set a lot differently. And you'll start to even see the change when you're working with somebody. Again, keep some kind of mantra here. And for this particular position, if they were in incline plane, which is what this position is all about, working in. Now you can see the body turn on even more, right? So this is great. So this helps to get rid of the bend of the elbows. Now, let's say somebody has hyperextended elbows like me. So I have the ability to not only hyperextend, you're gonna see this in a lot of women. Not only can I hyperextend my elbows, they tend to come here. And so this is a super easy rest. I could rest here all day. I'm locked out all day. Like when you have people who go through these like incline plane competition, how long can you hold incline plane? And the majority of them can hold it long if they're like this. Nobody holds it long if they're like this. But if they're like this, they can hold it all day. So this is a very weak position to be in. First of all, I want the pits of the elbows, the elbow eyes, to face one another without turning my hands. So if they're like this, I want them to face one another. This brings expansion to my shoulders. Then the other thing is I don't want them hyperextended. I want to work out at the elbows. So Johnny's just going to be my example of how you would give that. So first of all, pits of the elbows face one another without moving the hands to get them there. And then their action won't be shins in, it'll be thighs out. So I'm taking my hands, fisting them again, right above the elbows. I'm working in this time, and he's working out.
So that's that expansion we were talking about before with extension.
Exactly.
That particularly combination, so you look for it, does a person have an elbow like mine that doesn't extend? Thank you, jiu-jitsu. Versus somebody that is born or sometimes has just developed hyperextended elbow. So you just got to pay attention to that, and then you feed it. So mine bends this way, so I need to feed it in. Hers hyperextends, she needs to feed out on the upper arm. That's how you cue the right actions, the right muscles to engage, and that's why when they get out of it, they feel really good and they've been heated up again.
Yep.